The movie begins with a man named Samson. He walks into a nightclub that is also a hub for human trafficking. That night, Samson is negotiating a deal with a trafficking network for the trafficking of Victor. Samson gives a high enough fee, and the head of the cartel seems delighted to meet him. When Samson places some money on the table, he abruptly attacks everyone in the ring with a knife. Finally, he and the rest of the criminal group get into a battle. Despite being alone, he can easily defeat each member of the criminal syndicate one by one. He is a former member of the Special Forces and a top police officer, therefore, his fighting abilities are unrivaled. He moves to a room to find Victor and save him, after successfully defeating all members of the criminal gang. He explains to Victor that he is an errand guy ordered by his mother to bring him back. Soon after, they proceed to the basement and ride their motorcycle out of the club. Before Samson leaves, he activates the remote timer, which detonates the bombs placed in all of the cars and corners of the area. A few seconds after, a massive explosion erupts in the structure. The explosion murders all members of the trafficking gang. Not in Samson's knowledge, he had forgotten something crucial. All of the prisoners in the building will also be killed by the explosion and fire. The next morning, Samson is awakened by the sound of a police phone call. He is summoned to the trafficking hub, which had been scorched. When he gets on the scene, an investigator named Steve is furious and disappointed in him for what he did the night before. He inadvertently killed numerous youngsters who were being held captive there. The majority died as a result of carbon dioxide poisoning induced by the fire. According to Inspector Steve, Samson, who was previously a member of the Special Police Unit, is still employed individually by some parties. Although his goal was to save the kid, his actions have resulted in the deaths of others and significant losses for the police. Steve advises him to leave his personal job and stop interfering with police matters. Over the next 6 months, he changes careers and becomes a butcher, living a normal life like everyone else. He is still scarred by the blunders he made 6 months ago. He frequently saw reflections of the flames he started. Next, a family from the United States visits Moldova. Phaeton, the father, is married to Monica. They have a daughter named Becky, who is a teenager. They arrived at Moldova's international airport that morning, planning to stay in a hotel. They appear to be enjoying their arrival in Moldova. Phaeton is an MMA fighter who will compete there. When Phaeton is photographing his beloved daughter, he is unaware that a woman named Amelia is taking photos of her from behind. Becky begs her father's permission to go to the balcony to find a more stable cell phone network when they arrive at the hotel. Meanwhile, Phaeton is glued to the TV, watching MMA events. Becky happens to meet Amelia, who is standing on the balcony of the adjacent room. The signal on the lobby floor, according to Amelia, is more stable than the signal on their floor. Phaeton then looks for Becky while calling out her name. However, when Phaeton returns to check the balcony, he doesn't find his daughter, and only spots the laptop that had been placed on the table. He then attempts to call her cell phone, but receives no response. Meanwhile, Monica has no idea where Becky is, because she has been in the restroom since they arrived. Phaeton gets concerned when he can't find her, and quickly informs the hotel manager. The hotel's CCTV is reviewed, but no hints are found. Phaeton then contacts the media, and word of Becky's absence spreads quickly. The Moldovan police instantly organize all of their members to look for Becky's whereabouts, due to Phaeton's reputation as a former champion MMA fighter, who is well known and respected. Samson, who is taking a break from his busy work at the butcher shop, watches the news of Becky's disappearance on television. Becky's parents, Phaeton and Monica, come to see Samson shortly after, to seek his assistance in finding their daughter. Phaeton states that someone from the American embassy instructed him to go visit him and seek assistance. He explains that he can't help them because he is just a regular person. Monica, who had previously served in the police force, recognizes his tattoo, and knows he had worked in a special police division. Phaeton and Monica beg Samson for help finding their daughter and even pay a substantial sum. However, he denies the plea, because he is still traumatized by his previous mistakes. That evening, just as he is about to close up shop and head home, his son Selwyn comes to see him. Selwyn is the guy from the American embassy who recommended Samson to Becky's parents. Selwyn tries to persuade his father to assist Becky's parents in finding their teen daughter. According to Selwyn, the police are currently unable to do much, because the true crime gang is still shielded by specific authorities. But once again, Samson declines the plea. Phaeton hasn't given up, and continues to approach people on the roadside near the nightclub for help in finding his daughter. When Phaeton approaches a bar to inquire while holding a photo of Becky, some guys insult him, claiming that Phaeton is incapable of caring for his daughter. This immediately triggers his emotions, and he starts fighting some guys. He He can't defeat them on his own, because there are too many of them, and they severely beat him. Fortunately, a man with a black mask arrives out of nowhere to save him, and beats all of the men in the pub. The man in the black mask turns out to be Samson, who had been following Phaeton for quite some time. Samson then takes Phaeton to his butcher's shop, to have his injuries treated. When Phaeton arrives at Samson's butcher shop, Samson assures him that he is willing to assist him in finding his daughter, on the condition that Samson work alone and without interference. The following night, Samson goes to the home of a businessman named Lucas. Samson initially disguises himself as a messenger, in order to get access to the gate guard station and assassinate the guard. He then enters the security control center, and enters Lucas' room without being noticed by the other guards. After entering Lucas' room, he promptly apprehends Lucas, and asks him about Becky's location. Lucas states that he knows nothing about her disappearance. Hearing this, Samson threatens Lucas with gathering information about her and turning it over. And if Lucas is found to be the mastermind behind all of these crimes, Samson will return to murder him. And it turns out that he is correct in his forecast. Lucas is the brains behind Becky's abduction. After Samson departs, Lucas instructs Flat, one of his thugs, to murder Becky. Flat shot Amelia and her partner to clear the trail, after hearing Lucas' commands, before threatening Becky with gasoline. The next day, authorities discover a charred body they assume to be Becky's. The existence of Becky's bracelet on the corpse's left arm attests to this. Samson, who is still unsure after viewing the body's condition, requests that a DNA test be performed to determine who the body belonged to. Soon after, Phaeton, Monica and Samson head to the hospital to await the results of the DNA tests on the bodies. Monica burst into tears after learning from the forensic doctor that the corpse is Becky's. She smacks Samson fiercely, because she believes his reckless actions are to blame for everything. The next morning, Phaeton and Monica prepare to return to America, while Samson expresses his anguish by drinking heavily. Soon, Lucas and his thugs arrive at Samson's butcher shop to exact retribution for his acts the day before. When Lucas' henchmen whip Samson's back with iron chains, he is still a little inebriated, and can't fight back. Fortunately, he is able to climb back up, and fight all of Lucas' thugs. The shootout between Samson and Lucas, as well as all of his thugs, is fierce, but Samson survives. He strangely remembers the jewelry on Becky's left hand. Samson recalls Becky always wearing her bracelet on her right wrist, so he believes the body discovered by police the other day is not Becky's. He then heads straight to the international airport to meet Phaeton and Monica. When he arrives at the airport, he approaches them right away. He then states that Becky was still alive, while describing the bracelets on Becky's hands. According to Samson, the forensic doctor who examined the body may have been bribed by the suspect in Becky's kidnapping. The three proceed to the Pryor hospital right away, to arrest the forensic doctor. After he is detained, Monica and Phaeton compel the doctor to reveal who had paid him. Stilu, according to the doctor, is the individual who paid him to falsify the DNA test findings. Stilu is the deputy defense minister of Moldova, and the owner of a trafficking company. Stilu kidnaps American girls on occasion, because he enjoys having American girls serve him. He is aware that the forensic doctor had told his secret to the three that day. He directs Flat to handle Becky's parents' difficulties, after hearing the doctor's call. Samson, on the other hand, transports Phaeton and Monica to a place to keep them safe from Stilu. He reassembles the previously stored weaponry. Meanwhile, Becky is observed being held hostage in a remote spot away from cities. When the guards around Becky become careless, she grabs her smartphone, and dial her father's number. Through the phone signal, Phaeton and Monica are able to locate Becky. But it turns out that it is all part of the kidnappers' plan to capture Phaeton and Monica. Samson is promptly notified by them to accompany them to Chornia prison. Samson tries to dissuade them from following in the footsteps of the suspect in the kidnapping. Phaeton and Monica arrive at the destination and quickly look for a means to get in, because it is strongly guarded by armed forces. They go directly into the place after successfully removing the gatekeeper. They carefully follow the guard from behind after noticing one holding their daughter. But once again, it is all a setup to catch them. Fortunately, Samson arrives just in time to prevent them from being shot by the guards. They enter the building right after obtaining the key from one of the deceased guards. They rush over to a woman, who looks similar to Becky. However, it turns out that the girl is not Becky, but rather another girl who was kidnapped by the criminal organization. They then make the decision to let go and save the girl, and resume their hunt for Becky. They are met by several armed guards on the way. Samson promptly shot all of the armed guards, using smoke gas to obscure their vision. Flat, who is watching the action from behind the monitor, quickly orders his minions to surround Samson and the others. The shootout is unavoidable between the thugs and Samson's crew. As he watches Flat's goons perish, he removes his thugs and offers Phaeton a choice, between Becky and the woman Samson had saved earlier. Flat threatens to kill Becky if Phaeton does not agree to the swap, so they have no choice but to make it. Samson suspects that this maneuver is a trap, so he plans to observe the exchange from a safe distance, in order to locate Flat's mercenary sniper. Flat immediately orders his men to kill Becky's parents after the exchange, but Samson is able to prevent this. He had already killed 2 of the snipers. The cops arrive at the same time, and encircle the area. Fortunately, the girl who had earlier swapped places with Becky survives, because Samson had given her the rifle. Flat dies after being shot in the head by the girl. Finally, all of the American girls who were held captive by Flat have been liberated. The next day, Samson and Selwyn drive the Phaetons back to Moldova's international airport. Stilu prays in a church because he regrets his deeds. When he is confessing, Samson arrives out of nowhere, and shoots him dead, declaring that God might forgive him, but Samson won't. The end.